Ça va?
C'est dommage.
Il n'y a pas de soleil. There's no sun
C'est
today.
dommage ça. Hein?
Hello, my delicious co-creator Lilu here with Juicy Barnet Bain.
It's so good to be here to have you here with me and to have you here with us.
In your beautiful Malibu home in California. Nice. This is so special, guys. We're going to show you later, but there is the beach, there's the waves breaking right here. This is so inspiring. This is like a meditative
You managed to find the one day when it's raining.
Yeah.
And I love it when it's raining because I grew up in northern Quebec and it was always raining or snowing or there was always doing some dramatic weather. And it's very rare that we have rain in Southern California. Very rare, and it's it's so elemental and beautiful, and
yeah, it's very earthy right now. No distractions.
Soulful, heartful.
Perfect for this conversation because we're going to talk about magic. I love this rock. You studied magic, so we're going to speak about magicians because we can truly, I believe, and you believe, become magicians in life, and this is where the real juice is. So. Tell us, what is magic for you? When did you start being interested about the magic?
Magic is another way that of framing spirituality and consciousness. There's a point at which I discovered that along my own spiritual journey, my own exploration of consciousness and discovery of the places where I limit myself, where I hold myself back, where I get in my own way, where I have impact that's maybe not the best, I'll say, on other people. All of these constrictive places, they produce eventually a certain expected outcome in the world. And as I explored more and more of that and began to make changes, my life began surely, steadily to reflect those changes. And I began to realize that this is magical. And as off of that, I began to make a serious exploration of magic and discovered the many traditions of magic. There's alchemy in there. And of course, alchemy was never really about turning lead into gold. It was always a metaphor for turning the mundane life into a spiritual life. And so this was right up my street.
That felt good.
It felt good. So I knew I was going up the right road there. And magic is, for me at this point in my life, I am aware that there are certain kind of assumptions in the world about how the world works. Mostly they agree on some broad assumptions that, for instance, that the present is the result of the past and that reality is caused out of impact causation or a sort of Darwinian evolutionary causation, or there are a number of these paradigms, and they're all good and true. And yet beyond them, there is more. For example, and this is magical, this is a magical understanding, because when we begin to question these ideas and become somewhat larger than them, to go beyond logic and reason, without losing sight of logic and reason, as a good friend of mine says, we start to have more tools and more power. And our lives begin to reflect this in ways that seem non-linear. For example, there is this assumption that facts are facts and rocks are hard and
this is solid.
This is solid, and we know from physics that it's not. We also know that there are new paradigms of causation. People in our community, talk frequently about we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. Well, right away, this is a totally different magical paradigm, another paradigm of causation. If we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and as we are beginning now in these times of transformation to become aware of that and to begin to learn how to function in the awareness of that, in the duality of that, in the paradox of that, operating with more and more of our consciousness beginning to tune into those aspects of ourselves that can then in turn respond to the world in the physical world and incarnate into the physical world aspects of ourselves from beyond the physical world. Well, this is what having a spiritual life, being in a spiritual being in a physical world is kind of about. That is a magical paradigm, and it is contrary to Newtonian physics, to Cartesian thought, I think, therefore I am. In this other paradigm, I am, therefore I think, amongst many other things. I intuit, I feel, I have many other capacities that I'm not aware of in the old thinking, in the old paradigm, and all of these new gifts and talents and strengths that we are beginning to potentiate and discover and explore and come into relationship with, they are all magical because they are non-linear. They don't necessarily follow the orderly procession of cause and effect. We have been in love with the straight line.
Yeah.
This love affair with the straight line for a very, very, very long time. And it's no less true, but there are higher truths. And you know these, I'm talking a lot here, so.
This is awesome. We're
You know these Russian dolls, these lovely Russian dolls that, Daruma dolls, I think they, little one and a bigger one and a bigger one. This is, each one of those dolls exists, and yet they are held in the womb of a larger self. And that is a very apt model for me. It's the way I am now holding my vision of myself in relationship to other dimensional expressions of myself that I'm beginning to explore. And all these are magical. These are all magical, a new magical paradigm of relating to the mystery of the world. It's not simply logic and reason. And yet we don't want to become, we don't want to deny logic and reason. We don't want to deny the way we've functioned for so long. It's been beautiful, and it has allowed us to grow and to develop and to mature to the place where we can have the humility to accept the possibility that, but wait, there's more. There's more.
So how can we shift from that paradigm to this one that you're talking about?
Well, in the practice that we were talking about before, you know, I've noticed that there are people that I work with who are very resistant to it, and they're resistant to it because it's challenging and because it's frightening and because change is happening so quickly and so systemically. It happens within us, it happens without us. The structures in the world are changing and collapsing and evolving so quickly. And there is a kind of a relationship. Our ability to cope with change, the relationship between our ability to cope with change and the speed at which change comes at us is a very delicate balance. And when change comes at us at a rate faster than our ability to cope, we go into crisis and overwhelm. So not many, but quite a few of the people that I work with in my coaching practice have had this experience of overwhelm now. And the biggest, the most frequent and common response that I see is that people dig in against the feelings that are coming up. They resist. They either go numb or they automatically go to the habituated feelings. We all have habits, and we all have emotional responses that are habituated. And I know for me, I can get very arrogant really quickly, or I can get very righteous and aloof very quickly. And that's always a cover for something else. And when people are in crisis, they go to their usual comfortable responses, even though they're not always pleasant. They're frequently unpleasant. Anger or hurt or shame or whatever it is. Nonetheless, at this point, there is something below that. And they're often very resistant to going below what they're comfortable, what they're comfortable in, because it is scarier to go into the unknown than it is to spend our experience in something that is already familiar, even though it might be very unpleasant and difficult. Better the unpleasant and difficult thing that's known. There's a saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. That's kind of the thinking behind it. And the first thing is to get rid of the devil part and substitute it with the unknown, which just to come from a place of real curiosity and openness.
What I love when you speak about that is that it feels like there is this curtain, you know, that is up front, and that it's behind that curtain there is pure magic, and sometimes we're afraid to open that curtain.
C'est ça? It's the Wizard of Oz. It's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Behind that curtain, we need to make changes that are going to be reflected magically in the world. We need to do things in a different way. Not just in a different way for the sake of being different, but in a way that peels back the onion layers to the next thing underneath. What is my conditioned, my familiar, my habituated response, however difficult, however emotional, however fearful, underneath it? What's going on underneath it? What are the feelings there? And then what is the feelings below that? That's a scary place. That's difficult for me to go to. It's
vulnerable.
It's very, very vulnerable. It's very vulnerable. And it's very helpful to explore that with someone. Someone that, that has earned trust and creates a place of safety and a listening and a listening with the ears as well as the eyes as well as with the heart, and a place of compassion. It's what we had, you and I and Freeman had a conversation last week with Gary Zukav, and Gary refers to this as a spiritual partnership, and it's very much that. It's creating a space to make it safe for someone to explore and to encourage the self and others to go deeper, to listen below and between the words, to feel in to the emotions that are being unexpressed. And part of these magical faculties that we are beginning to discover are these uncommon senses. We have the common senses, the 5 common senses, but we're discovering uncommon senses too. The ability to feel into what's not being said and to sense the movement in a conversation. Is this conversation moving towards something beautiful and powerful and shedding light, or is it moving into a direction of that we may or may not want to go? We begin to develop this ability that seems contrary, that I can sense the movement in a conversation, or I can hear with my heart, or I can see with my listening. These kinds of qualities, they're beyond logic and reason.
Yeah.
But we do them all the time. We have this ability this beautiful feminine gift of the goddess, which is imagination, that allows us to, eyes closed or open, be anywhere, any place, any time, any space. And even though we may not have had a direct three-dimensional ego positive, I don't mean negative, ego personality experience of something, we can nonetheless enter into an imaginative place and access it as if for the very first time. And we do this constantly, 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 and in those places we generate full-fledged realities, which we do all the time anyway. That's what we're doing here. These imaginal experiences where we create with many, many more senses beyond sight, sound. Those are the vehicles, the portals, through which we access the illusion of reality. But what is real is what we are accessing through those portals is the feelings that they engender. When you hold this rock, it feels smooth, it's magical, and it is a portal for a feeling experience that you're having. And you're not letting go of this rock, so obviously that is a really delightful experience that you're having. And that's what's real.
Yeah.
That's what's real. This is the illusion part.
So the creating magic is beyond the co-creation.
Creating magic is really the co-creation. In my my understanding, at this point in my life, we create our own reality. No ifs, no buts,
100%.
no fine print, no yeah but, no if that, 100%, day and night. And when we absolutely get that, when we can get past all of the yes buts, all of the, well, if I'm creating my reality and you're creating your reality, then whose reality? When we get past all of those questions that cannot be answered in time-space, these seemingly paradoxical questions, when we get to the place where we own it and we take responsibility, the ability to respond to the challenges of that. Oh, a plane went down in Asia the other day. How did I create that? Well, I didn't create it by actually going and pulling the plane out of the sky. But I did allow it because it is consistent with the assumptions that I have about how the world works. So it's in my bandwidth. If I was a radio set, it's part of my tuner. It's a station that I'm able to tune in. If I begin to explore, well, why is it that I feel these kinds of things? Why is it that, how do I feel about a plane going, I don't want to digress too much, but how do I feel about a plane going down here? Well, I feel, you know, that things happen in the world and I'm helpless in certain places and I feel that I'm powerless in other places. And, well, now we start to get to what is real. So there's a helplessness and there's a powerlessness. As we begin to heal these aspects, these hurt aspects of our personality, less and less will we need to see it reflected back through the dreams of others that are actively created, that we co-create out of being operating out of the same playbook. Less and less will that happen. So as we begin to more and more take responsibility for our creation of all that is, when we really, really fully get it, in that moment, there is a higher truth. And the higher truth at that moment is that we don't create it all. We co-create. We are co-creators. But to jump past the full ownership of how we create, to go straight to, well, we're co-creators, leaves huge gaps in the bandwidth, to return to that analogy. huge gaps. So we don't get shortcuts. It's not like there's any competition. It's not like it's a game. People talk about it as a school, you know, Earth School, but we're not in school. It's a school of our own making. It's our own exploration. It's our own curiosity. This is a function of our own curiosity. It's not happening to us. There's no curriculum. There's no lessons. There's no school teachers, unless that's how we frame it and we play that game. It's our own curiosity, so we can't just jump past that. We have to really get, oh wow, I create the whole thing. And I create it mostly by saying, no, here's this big funnel of all this energy that comes through. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing, but we are becoming more and more conscious. More and more lights are going on. So the parts of us that are hugely expansive and connected to all that is and know itself as all that is, those lights are off. We have these lights on. We think we're very small. So all this potential for everything, infinite potential, comes in, and we have a filter here that filters this out, filters this out, filters this out, filters this out, and then we get down. By the time we get down, we have this much smaller, more accessible experience that we can have a hand in. And part of this spiritual journey, well, I think the imperative of our spiritual journey is to open up and open up and open up and see the parts of ourselves that say, I'm afraid of love. I've been hurt. So I'm afraid of love. When I'm afraid of love and I've been hurt, I behave in a particular way. And then you, as my friend or as my small daughter or my son or the student in my school or the viewer of one of my movies, sees modeled my thoughts and beliefs about love. It's fearful, it's scary. And you take that on, and we have all of these waves that we create, and they all layer on each other and splash back on each other, and they create this soup of group dream. So the co-creator understands suddenly, whoa, I am in a group dream, but I buy into all of the table of contents. I buy into everything in the group dream, otherwise it would go right by me. So I buy into everything, and then I can begin to respond to it. And then I realize, whoa, there's much more, and I can co-create it beyond my part that just says, no, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. Now it's being gifted to me as an act of grace, and my job is, my opportunity is to open to it and let it flow through me and be a vehicle for it, and enjoy the dance as I'm spun through the world. Enjoy the dance of it.
And that's what's living a juicy life.
That's living a juicy life, and that's magic.
And that's magic, yeah.
That's magical.
And then you're connected through the field, through this, with the universe.
With everything, and you know it.
Yeah, and you know it. And
so you either dream with full awareness and lucidity, responsible, even with a willingness to be wrong in the pursuit of what's right. We don't have to be perfect.
Let's be playful.
Let's be playful. Yeah, I want to be, you know, I have a big ego like most people, and I want to get it right, but I'm more interested in loving and growing at this point, and I'm willing to get it wrong in order to get it right. So you either dream consciously, or you will be dreamed by others.
I love that.
That's magic. What
a special moment we just had. Thank you. Thank you. Juicy, 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 my beautiful co-creators in the sky. Rocks. He's awesome. He's juicy. I love it. I'm so happy that we made this happen, and that this is pure magic right now happening. And this is something very worthwhile sharing with as many people as possible. This is what we need to hear more of.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll go fishing in Canada soon.
We're going fishing in Vancouver. Definitely creating magic there in Vancouver.
Magical
Thank you, Barnet,
fish.
for welcoming us
so
to
much.
your home. Thank you. And if you want to see more interviews, you can go to juicylivingtour.com. My beautiful co-creator, the time is now. Bye.